Before we go any further, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon, because without their help, none of this upgraded content that you'd be seeing would be possible. Over on the Patreon, you get exclusive sneak peeks at upcoming videos. You also get access to the Patreon only Discord server. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on talking about other anime that I can't talk about here on YouTube, like say ReZero, Konosuba, and etc. I'm also going to start posting the scripts for video essays, and every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul. We also are going to open up the Patreon only Discord server to YouTube members at the $2 price tier, which also means that members will be seeing their name here alongside the patron. But with that being said, let's get back into today's video. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys the very first chapter review for Sasuke Retsuden, and I'm gonna say it right now, this is gonna be a must read every 2 weeks because chapter 1 was good. I came into it thinking this is gonna be a beat for beat retelling from the novel, but we get scenes and more explanation onto how Sasuke traveled to the land of Redaku, where the Sage of Six Paths once lived, and Sasuke's fight in this manga was very well done, and I approve of it as a Sasuke fan because there was some creativity in this. For those of you guys who have not read the chapter, it's on Viz Media's Shonen Jump app as well as on Manga Plus, and it comes out bi-weekly. Finally, as I said before, if you're somebody who wants Boruto bi-weekly, the editors for Manga Plus have said they take data off of Manga Plus and they factor it into their decisions moving forward. So show support for this and read it, and if the numbers can come in closer to Boruto or above it, you're showing Naruto fans can support something bi-weekly, which bodes well for Boruto by extension. So the chapter itself opens up with a beautiful color page where we see Sasuke leaving Konoha, and we have Naruto trembling and shaking as he's holding his heart, asking Sasuke if he's headed off to Redaku, and without a word, Sasuke just takes off, leading to a beautiful double page spread where Naruto screaming Sasuke's name with a pained expression on his face, and we get the title page for Sasuke Retsuden Chapter 1. We then transition over to Sasuke in the land of Redaku, a land where the climate is extremely dry and hot, but Sasuke walks through a village asking people about the Sage of Six Paths, and he's purposely asking an older woman because the older the person, the more likely they are to know about the folktales of Hagoromo. We learn that Redaku is in an isolated country that's been closed off for centuries to the rest of the world, which for those of you guys who do not know, Redaku is on an entirely different continent in the Naruto world, so it's not physically touching the 5 great nations. Sasuke, as he's questioning people, realizes that he's being watched very closely by a young woman and begins to start leading her away from the market and into an isolated area so that he can question her. We get a good set of anticipation panels where you see the woman go from her normal expression to all of a sudden you get a close-up and you see that she's shocked when Sasuke turns the corner, which leads to the next page where you see her foot in a running motion only for her to see that there's nobody in the alley, but you continue to have anticipation panels being used with Sasuke's foot being shown in an upward motion, which leads to another build-up panel where you see Sasuke perched on the balcony looking down at her before he jumps down and lands behind her and begins to ask questions with a well shaded out expression on his face that Sasuke means business, and her eyes widen when Sasuke begins to pull out his sword, and Sasuke gives a shocked expression when she tells him that she's heard of the Sage of Six Paths, which throws Sasuke off here. The oldest living woman in this village didn't know who Hagoromo was, but this young woman, who we then learn is named Lila, appears to know who the Sage of Six Paths is, and the beauty of this whole scene right here is that the mangaka is showing that he clearly understands the beauty in using anticipation shots and living in the moment more. However, before Sasuke can question her, thieves suddenly rush past Sasuke with items from the shop of Lila's mother. Lila has no idea why her mother's out of breath until the mom explains that this is the situation, she got robbed, and Lila tries to give chase before Sasuke stops her. The crooks think they're getting away free, but we see Sasuke quickly assess the situation, stating there's no time to throw shuriken, and he activates his Rinnegan and Meneteji Kara in order to swap places with the giant jar that 2 men are carrying in front of the crooks. Before the crooks even know what happened, we get 2 impact shots of the men getting their faces kicked in by Sasuke, and Sasuke's body is twisting in the air, and as this happens, he makes eye contact with the 3rd and final crook, and he places him under Sharingan Genjutsu, making the man believe that he's holding a woman hostage when in reality, he's actually holding a watermelon. which leads to Sasuke continuing genjutsu by making the man think that he's drowning in quicksand, and the man begins to start screaming his lungs off, and by the time Sasuke breaks the genjutsu, the man's face is shaded out with fear and he's sweating and he's shaking. We then learn that the man will be transported to the observatory, i.e. the prison of this land, which is where they were originally supposed to go, but they escaped the transport the day before Sasuke got here. Lila's mother calls Sasuke out on being a shinobi, stating that she's never seen ninjutsu with her own eyes, but she's heard stories, and she digs through the stolen items of her shop and she shows the wedding ring off that her husband gave to her, which leads to a very hilarious scene where Lila's mother, Kale, asks Sasuke if she's gonna marry her daughter, which leads to Lila frustrated, but also leads to Sasuke having a deep reflection as he recalls his wife Sakura and his gaining daughter Sarda. The scene then shifts back over to Naruto inside the Hokage office being attended to by Shikamaru because Naruto's illness has him hunched over and dropping books on his desk, which leads to Shikamaru saying all they can do right now is wait to see if Kakashi and Sasuke's missions in the land of Redaku will come back with the cure for Naruto's chakra illness, which we learn more about here. Essentially, Sasuke reveals to this woman that the Sage of Six Paths suffered the same illness of Naruto, and he's looking for the smallest of clues about the Sage of Six Paths time here so he can help Naruto, which for those of you guys who are wondering about the timeline or what this illness is, why Naruto's hunched over, we're going to cover that after we do the recap portion of the review, so just sit tight for that. Back to the chapter itself though. Kale goes through her books on her bookshelf and tries to retrieve a book that should have information on Hagoromo in it, but the page that she's looking for is missing, and the woman says that even though the page is missing, she knows for a fact that Hagoromo once stayed at the observatory, which is now a prison for criminals. We then shift over to the prison itself, where the crooks who Sasuke had previously caught are now doing backbreaking labor work in the prison camp from sunup to sundown, complaining about how this is going to be the next year of their lives. The prisoner who Sasuke put on a genjutsu states that he can't do this any longer and plans to break out, and the next day at breakfast, he starts to break out after the breakfast, but after he and another one of the crooks see that Sasuke's sitting at a prison table, one prisoner thinks that now is the time for revenge, but the one who Sasuke put on a genjutsu earlier in the chapter is freaking out at the prospect of starting trouble with Sasuke. The boy's got PTSD. One of the crooks tries to throw a fork at Sasuke, and we get this great set of panels where Sasuke spots the fork coming at him, and then he moves swiftly out of the way to avoid being hit, and then you see the man behind Sasuke does get hit. And so when this man gets hit by the fork, he turns around and tries and stab Sasuke with the same fork he pulled out of his back, and Sasuke's eyes narrow. He dodges the attack, and then the scene rightfully slows down to show Sasuke's hand underneath the chin of the crook before we get the impact shots of the palm strikes, knocking the man backward underneath the chin, and the man is hit so hard that he falls on the back of his neck with his legs in the air, which leads to the prison fight itself, all while the director of the prison, Zansul watches as the bodies begin to start falling around Sasuke. Before Sasuke can be thrown into solitary confinement, Zansul steps in to state that Sasuke acted in self-defense and warns Sasuke not to think that he's getting a free pass here. The lone crook who didn't try to take Sasuke on in a battle tells Sasuke he plans to leave from the prison as soon as possible, and that as shinobi, they should be able to escape. However, the chapter ends off with Minnow, the creature who guards the prison, eating the prisoner who tries to escape, crushing his head underneath his foot in a beautifully drawn double page spread that adds emphasis to the cruelty of the moment, all while Sasuke looks on, and it leads to people saying that this is why there are no locked doors in this prison, because Minnow watches over everything. It's under the control of Zansul. Sasuke realizes he might have got himself in over his head, and this chapter really gives off vibes of when Jiraiya infiltrated the Hidden Rain village. I love this whole thing right here. Now, moving on though, you might be wondering, where did the Velociraptor come from? And I'd say one overlooked detail we have in the Naruto world is that at some point we do know dinosaurs existed. Much like how dinosaurs exist in Dragon Ball, we also know in the Naruto world dinosaurs exist. We see as much in Naruto's manga when you see the skeleton of a dinosaur is shown, and Sasuke's also playing with stuffed dinosaurs. Now, I can't tell you why Minnow is there, but that's only because that will be a spoiler for later on in the manga. The next thing you might be curious about is, what is Naruto's illness? illness that has him so bent out of shape? Well, as Sasuke alluded to, this is the same illness that Hagoromo had towards the end of his life, which directly comes as a result of having chakra from all 9 Biju inside the body for a prolonged period of time. But so as to not spoil a major point in the story, I won't go any further, but this is being held secret from Naruto's wife and children, and when Naruto's out in public, he pretends like nothing ever happened. Kakashi and Sasuke left for Redaku to seek out answers, hoping that something about Hagoromo's time in this land where he lived would give them the answers they need. However, you also might be wondering, wait, Sasuke has a Rinnegan, so where does this take place in the timeline? Is this before Jigen? Is this after Jigen? And the answer for this is before any of the stuff with Jigen and Kar. The Retsuden storyline takes place after the Naruto Shinden trilogy, i.e. Naruto Shinden Parent and Child Day, Sasuke Shinden the Teacher Star Pupil, and Shikamaru Shinden Morning Clouds. And those take place just before the Momoshiki arc and all the way up until just after Shojoji is beaten by Boruto. Whereas these Retsuden stories, they're going to be taking place during the almost year that exists between the Mujina Bandits arc and the Kawaki arc of the story. So this is why Sasuke still has the Rinnegan. I'm going to say Kimura Shingo did a great job for his introduction into the Naruto franchise. This was a great chapter, great paneling, great sense of build-up, great flow and pacing. Now, he did have an extra 5 months to work on the early chapters than Ikimoto had for Boruto, which makes sense given the lack of visual storyboarding references since Ikimoto had Boruto the movie, but this is a good day for Naruto fans. We got a very solid chapter and bi-weekly at that. The next chapter will be out on November 5th, and I'll probably drop that one a day after this one. My chapter question for you guys is 1 to 10. How well did Kimura Shingo do on his debut in the Naruto franchise? While you think that over, click here to watch my Chainsaw Man Power video essay, or click here to watch my Boruto chapter review.